Hi guys, so today I thought I'd look at a few more ways to use your wall bag. If you haven't seen it already, you can see Sifu's lesson on working with a wall bag. I just thought I'd add a few different ideas. So firstly, the most obvious thing is you work all of your different techniques: turning punch, static punch, no turning, double punch, Faxow, remembering to keep making sure everything is working as it should be. So if you take Faxow as an example, remember you're driving forwards, you're not chopping, but you're driving forwards. Your palm strikes, you can even work heavy hand on the wall bag. So, also you can do stuff like bong, lap, punch, double gansao, punch from the lower hand, double gansao, punch from the lower hand, moving this way, double gansao, low punch, double gansao, Faxow, palm strike. So basically that's just working off of any turning technique and following it with a punch. So I might come back to some of those later. Firstly, I thought we'd do an exercise on range. So if you take the range here, where I'm quite extended with my punch, so almost, remember we're not going to work this obviously because that's not going to do anything, but with a slight bend in the elbow. So when you make connection, you've got a slight bend in the elbow. It's further than my fist and thumbs distance. It's a little bit more extended, and you can work here. Now, once you've done that, take a step forwards, just like a couple of inches, and work here. Then take a further step forwards, work here, and then close range here. And you can do all the same with lower strikes here, getting closer each time until you're well in and just working, dropping in punches from really close range. So that means you could be close in here and you just drop in a punch here, and you're just looking to be powerful at a variety of different ranges. So if you work from your fist and a thumb's distance as your perfect connection range, or a desirable one, we're starting a little bit further out from that and getting closer each time. You'll pass through this distance, but you'll get a little bit closer each time. You can also work on range with Buma. So this time I've got 1 foot forwards and I'm working on this range here. And once again, I can get closer each time. And I can work on the rear fist as well. Here. So here I am, Buma position, however you want to hold your hands, and then this rear hand is just going to drop forwards here. It could be you've got that range, you've got a bit of contact. Sometimes if your hand is forwards here in a passive move, asking them to calm down, they will go forwards to test this range, or some people call it a fence, and they'll, rather than manhandling it or moving it, they will bodily step forwards and force it onto their chest. So they move forwards here. So that's forcing you to either capitulate, move this hand back, hold them at range, or do something to discourage them from getting any closer. It is possible to hold someone at range here with a little bit of force at the fingertips, which will force them to either remove the fence or aggressively come forwards, which could be seen as an initiation and give you information on whether you want to strike. Because if you're putting a little bit of resistance here, whether it's in the fingertips or the hand here, to keep them away, and they force themselves closer, you can be reasonably sure they're probably going to attack, depending if you're getting a few signals elsewhere from how they're acting. So you could have a hand here, could have contact or just be close, and then the rear hand drops forwards. Now you can work different ranges here as well. So maybe they force your hand here, and you drop it in here, and drop it in. So we're working on range with turns and one leg forwards here. You can also work on range in Buma if you take a bit of a step back from the wall bag and then step forwards to punch here with the front hand. You're not too likely to step forwards and punch with the rear, because this is the closest target to, the closest weapon to the target, so you'd expect to punch with this hand rather than the rear hand. Remember, we're developing power at close range just so we don't have to drop in that more obvious weapon here. We should be able to deliver power very closely. So you can work at different ranges, stepping in from quite far to a medium distance till you're getting quite close. So when you get to close range here, in terms of stepping forwards, you might not be able to step much, but it's more about just dropping your body weight forwards while still keeping your weight sunk on your back leg. So we've done turning, Buma with a step, and punch off the rear hand with Buma. Now, what you can also do, working from one leg forwards, is work with stepping. So if I'm here and I am punching off the rear hand, I might want to angle off here. So all I'm doing is on my back leg is just dropping to the side and I punch here. And you can do it the other way with the front hand. To do that, my front foot just moves about 6 inches to the right, and that gives me more of an angle to strike, and the back leg moves 6 inches to the left, give me an angle to strike from there with Buma. Another advantage of stepping and angling off is that gives you a bit of hip torque to drop it in as well, rather than just stepping forwards. So I'm dropping weight and turning here, and same here, I'm using a little bit of hip torque to drop it in. So with our turning techniques, try and exhaust all the different ways to strike you can think of. So if we take tarn punch here, you've then got a follow-up strike here. And the other side. With bong lap, you can turn and drop in the other punch. You can do turning punch followed by double punch. With the double punch, what I tend to do is, after the initial turning punch, I step forwards. Otherwise, I'm punching off a retreating shoulder. So you have to step forwards here. So once you've done the first punch, foot goes forwards here. Just moving to Buma position, and then the other punch. With the double punch, make sure you're not going where this first one, there's not really anything to it. You've got to go punch, and there needs to be, need to hear that sound. They can work on the lower punches close in, and you can work on, so you get nice and close to the wall bag and just work on dropping those close range punches in here. Now it might seem a bit high, I mean it's definitely higher than my midsection, but that's because I just always assume my opponent's going to be bigger. You're less likely to get someone smaller picking on you. So because they're bigger, this is a bit higher. Now you can work with straight here, and you can also angle here. So if you've worked with BUG, you'll have seen this uppercut here. So you can work with a rising punch here, as well as mixing some of these. Here, you can work on the close-in hits here as well. You can also work on speed of closing the hand into a fist. So from here, getting it into the proper shape. I'll show this on so you can see. Closing it quick enough to deliver a strike. You could also work in coming from here, going to Faxau. And you can work on various distances. So you could be here, the first one, and then get in here for the second one. So to give you a real world application of why you do that, the punch could come in, you receive it, either lap sao, tan sao or punch, it doesn't really matter, any normal typical Wing Chun technique to receive a punch. And two things are going to happen. Either you'll not get hit, you'll move out of the way, whether that's with contact on the arm or not, or you'll get punched. So, but either way, the opponent will be closer. So if you're here and you do make contact, that doesn't necessarily mean the opponent's going to stop. You could punch them and they could still be travelling. There's no guarantee that you're going to make the strike and they're going to fly backwards. Or even necessarily stop them in their tracks, because if you've got 14 stone with enough momentum and aggression charging towards you and you punch here, there's no way you're going to guarantee you're going to stop it from barreling towards you. So 1 second they're here and then a quarter of a second later they're going to be at this range. So if you hit them and they're still coming in, or you could have hit a glancing blow, they're still travelling. So your next shot, rather than being here, is going to be here, because they're close. So go from here, and then practice a nice tight shot in here. It might be tempting at this point to say, well, why don't you elbow strike them? Yeah, that's a good idea. Not on the wall bag. Because you will pick up a back injury if you're dropping in elbows on a wall bag. There's no cushioning. It's just solid bone from here straight into your back. Well, it goes straight into the shoulder, but it's going to go straight into your back here. So when you elbow strike, all that power, there's no give. It's not a hanging bag. It's on a solid wall. So when you deliver that, your back's going to know about it. So don't do that. But we can practice nice tight shots here. You can even practice one hand forwards, one hand forward and Faxau. You can practice going from Faxau to punch, or from punch to Faxau. You can, like I said before, you can practice heavy hand. You can practice going from kick, in with the front hand, kick, in with the rear hand. You can go kick, double punch. You can go kick, land, bong lap, Faxau, close down with a punch. I'll show you that the other side as well. So that is a front kick, and then I land, I could punch, or front kick, land, bong sao, bong lap, Faxau, punch. That's just practicing the mechanic of, you kick them, there's a strike coming, you land on the kicking leg, cover and hit. The reason I probably employ bong sao over another technique there is because it's a good finder technique, and in this scenario I might want a good finder technique to find out where that punch is before I apply my strike. So you can use your wall bag to train all of these attributes, and even though I recommend not doing too many. You can put on some fairly, you can put on light gloves. So I've got MMA gloves here, which can save your knuckles. You can also use bag mitts or bag gloves. That boxers use them. They go on first instead of wrapping the hand. It's an alternative to wrapping the hand, and then the boxing glove goes over the top. But if you use the bag glove, you'll protect your hands a little bit while still protecting your techniques, because you're only supposed to do a certain number of punches on the ball bag, as we've discussed. But you might want to do more. You might be practicing techniques, so you might want to protect your hands a little bit, so you can do a little bit more than usual. Also, don't feel you have to go full power. You don't have to go full power in every punch. You can just relax and just get some mechanics going without really slamming it powerfully. Obviously you do want to practice with a bit of power, but if you're just practicing getting mechanics, then by all means go a bit lighter, maybe use a bit of hand protection. So an example of other mechanics you could do would be working on different joints of the body to generate power. So you could practice using your hips to generate power, practice thinking of the elbow joint to generate power. Maybe you want to think about drawing the power up through your heels, through the floor. Maybe you want to do a combination of them. But you can go light and just make sure you're feeling all of those things happening.